Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into what I like to call the QA leadership interview confidence trap. If you're gearing up for a team lead interview, you already know you're going to spend almost the entire time doing two things: detailing your past experience and explaining exactly how you work. But here's the secret. It's actually the tiny grammar choices that dictate whether you sound just almost right or fully natural, confident, and ready to lead. Mastering these little details? That's your golden ticket to proving you've got the precision leadership requires.
To get you there, we're going to walk through our agenda today. First, getting the right article every time. Second, choosing between past simple or present perfect. Third, nailing preposition collocations. Fourth, using phrasal verbs for leaders. And finally, number 5, bringing it all together in a masterclass, the perfect star answer. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the right article every time. Now, getting your articles wrong is essentially a verbal bug, and unfortunately, it's a bug that is highly audible to a native ear simply because English forces you to make this choice before almost every single noun.
Now, the biggest trap here is relying on spelling. You've got to remember, choosing between a and an is all about the sound of the word, not the letter it starts with. That's exactly why we say an honest report, because the H is totally silent, leaving us with a vowel sound. On the flip side, we say a useful tool, which actually starts with a yay consonant sound, even though it's spelled with a U. Makes sense, right? It's the exact same logic behind an automated test, but a QA lead. And hey, for general uncountable concepts like communication, you just use absolutely no article at all.
Let's look at this rule in action. Imagine you're introducing a blocker to your team. We found a defect. It's the very first time anyone is hearing about it, so we use a. But literally in the next breath, the context shifts. It becomes a specific, known issue to everyone in the room, so you say, the defect blocked the release. It's a subtle switch, but mastering this flow proves to your interviewer that you can manage systems intuitively, rather than mentally translating sentences word by word. Moving right along to section 2, past simple or present perfect. Now, mastering this specific tense contrast is honestly the absolute most useful tool you can have for talking about your career progression.
The distinction here is actually pretty straightforward. Past simple is your go-to for a finished action at a finished time. You use it when the time frame is crystal clear, like, I joined the company in 2021. That is done and dusted. Present perfect, though, that's all about an experience that doesn't have a specific timestamp or an action that is still highly relevant right now. Think, I have led 3 QA teams. Mixing these two up, for example, blurting out, I have joined in 2021, is a classic B1 level trap. But once you start separating a finish time from an ongoing experience, you fix it instantly.
And here is exactly how you can use this to absolutely nail your interview. It's a classic move. You open with the present perfect to summarize your broader background. Something like, I have managed remote teams for several years. Boom. Then, you smoothly pivot right into the past simple to highlight a concrete, specific victory. In my last role, I built the QA process from scratch. It is a fantastic 1-2 punch that screams leadership communication.
Okay, let's tackle section 3, nailing preposition collocations. I'll be honest with you, this area lacks a lot of logic. It's one of those things you just have to memorize as whole units because a wrong preposition, even a tiny one, is a bug that listeners will catch immediately.
Let's look at some common ones. You aren't responsible of something, you're responsible for it. Your team isn't based on Europe, they're based in Central Europe. Same goes for report to and involved in. The absolute best trick for memorizing these tricky combinations is to learn them baked right into short sentences. Seriously, don't just memorize the isolated words. Let the context of a full sentence like, I am responsible for release quality, carry that correct preposition right into your long-term memory.
And that brings us to section 4, phrasal verbs for leaders. These little phrases are the critical vocabulary weapons you absolutely need in your arsenal to sound fluent and natural in any leadership role.
Before we dive into the specific examples, let's make sure we're on the same page about what these actually are. A phrasal verb is just a 2-part phrase, a standard verb plus a small word called a particle, where the combined meaning is usually completely non-literal. They might seem informal, but trust me, they are absolutely essential if you want to sound like an integrated, highly confident leader.
But here's a massive warning label for when you deploy these at work. You have to choose them based on their exact meaning. Take roll out and carry out. You roll out a feature to users, meaning you're releasing it gradually, but you carry out a test, meaning you're actively performing the task. They both involve doing work, but they're absolutely not interchangeable.
So, when you correctly use point out to flag a risk, or say, let's kick off to start a sprint, it instantly signals to the room that you are fully fluent in the day-to-day language of modern tech teams.
All right, we've covered the basics. Now it is time for Section 5, the masterclass, the perfect star answer. We're going to take all 4 of the pillars we just learned and fuse them together using the famous STAR method: situation, task, action, and result. Let's see how this grammar actually works in the wild.
Picture this. You're walking into a high-stakes interview. You sit down, the small talk wraps up, and then the hiring manager drops this absolute classic behavioral question on you. Tell me about a time you improved quality in a team. So, how exactly do we answer this perfectly?
Well, we always start with the situation. Listen to this. When I joined my previous company in 2021, it was a fast-growing startup. I was based in the engineering office, and at first I was the only tester there. Notice how flawlessly this sets the scene. We've got the past simple for that finished time, joined in 2021. We nailed our prepositional collocation with based in, and check out that article usage. I was the only tester there. Using the works perfectly because it refers to a highly specific role.
Now, as we transition right into the task phase, watch how the speaker handles the grammar. I was made responsible for release quality, so I had to set up a testing process from scratch. We were running out of time before each release. They perfectly drop in the collocation responsible for. Then they effortlessly weave in 2 distinct phrasal verbs, having to set up a process because they were running out of time. It just flows. It sounds incredibly natural and incredibly professional.
Next up, the action phase. First, I pointed out the biggest risks, focused on the most critical user flows. Then I built an automated suite, and we began to carry out a full regression test. Here, the focus really shifts to using correct phrasal verbs for specific meanings. The speaker pointed out the risks and began to carry out a test. They also crushed the preposition collocation with focused on. And hey, don't miss that vital article rule making a comeback. Built an automated suite effortlessly following the vowel sound rule.
And for the grand finale, we hit the result phase. Since then, I have led 2 more QA teams. We cut the bug escape rate by half in 3 months, and the team has trusted the process ever since. Quality became a shared responsibility. Look at how powerfully they shift tenses here. They pull out the present perfect to show that lasting impact. I have led. Then boom, right back to the past simple to drop the hard metric. We cut the bug escape rate. And they close out on a general concept using the 0 article rule. Quality became a shared responsibility. This precise combination is exactly what makes an answer sound impeccably accurate and deeply confident.
So how do you actually master this system on your own? The explainer outlines 3 highly actionable steps. First, you've got to rebuild 3 or 4 of your own real work stories, and do it out loud. Second, audit those stories against the 4 grammar pillars we just covered. And third, this is the most crucial one, record yourself. Honestly, hearing your own voice played back to you is absolutely the fastest way to catch those audible B1 errors. It lets you cut the bug escape rate in your own speech long before you ever step foot in that interview room.
Because at the end of the day, accuracy builds trust. Nailing these seemingly small rules actively proves to an interviewer that you manage complex systems well. And what is language if not a complex system? Your grammar is literally the underlying architecture of your communication. So as you gear up for that next big leadership role, ask yourself, what story is your grammar telling the interviewer?